Wow, this is really weird.
Wow.
This is a lot of people.
You know, we had to reschedule this thing, right? Because the last, I guess 6 weeks have been really, really crazy. At this point, we've been all over the country, like 10,000 miles, and now we're finally here in Portland.
Yes, the city of angels.
You know, it's great to be here because we did a meetup here. I don't know when the last time it was, but I think it was over the summer, and it was a lot smaller than this. So it's good to see that the message is getting out there to more and more people. And I know that we're just really, really thankful to see your faces out here. This is great. They kind of gave you an overview of how we're going to do this. How we usually do it is Ryan and I maunder on until someone asks us to stop, basically. We've figured out, this is our 43rd city. We have figured out how to attenuate our little upfront talk a bit. Atlanta was 5.5 hours. And I wish I was kidding. And so we're usually standing when we do this too, but they said we could make it look like an Oprah set. And I figured this is the closest we'll ever get to that. So, but yeah, so we talked for a little bit, and then we do a Q&A. They talked about the mics that are set up, and then if you want to do a book signing or get a picture with us, or just get a hug, please get a hug. That would be really great. One thing I'll say about books, and as you could see, there are all kinds of like jokes about minimalism, right? Yeah. If you name yourselves the Minimalists, you have to be ready for those jokes for sure. But people like will call us out on everything all the time. You know, you're not a minimalist because you have electricity, and so we have written like I don't know 5 or 6 books, and if you decide that you want one of our books, great, but you don't have to hold on to it, right? You don't have to like put it on a shelf as some sort of trophy. You know, I encourage you to pass it on to someone or give it to a used bookstore or something like that, if that's the route you take, if you want one at all. But you don't have to hold on to it. In fact, I think you'll realize that if you read it. But we. No, that's what we do, and so before we start, I usually like to start with a question, because I'm curious about the audience. How many of you grew up in dysfunctional households? Yeah? Wow, it's Seattle. It's like 20%. Is it 80% of you are in denial, or what is that? Okay, because I grew up in a dysfunctional household. Before that term, dysfunctional was really cool, right? Ryan grew up in a dysfunctional household. We grew up just south of Dayton, Ohio, and growing up, there were a lot of problems we had. Our parents had issues with alcohol and drugs, and they were divorced when we were young, and we didn't have much money. We grew up pretty poor, and this term happiness came up a lot, even as children. As they mentioned in the intro, that was far more eloquent than I'll ever be, that they mentioned that we have known each other since we were fat little 5th graders. And so that term happiness came up a lot during our elementary days and post-elementary and in high school. In fact, in high school, Ryan came to me and he figured out the equation for happiness, right? Because we weren't very happy growing up. Our parents weren't happy. There was a lot of discontent in our lives. And Ryan figured out that this equation that would make us happy, basically. And the equation was this. If each of us could just make $50,000 a year, then we could be happy, right?
Yeah, in my defense, just so you know where that equation came from, because it sounded really brilliant at the time when I came up with it. But no, my dad, he's got like a little small painting and wallpaper business, and I would work with him during the summers of high school and, you know, even junior high or whatever. And we always worked in these very affluent houses. I'm talking like indoor bowling alleys, indoor pools, like some really crazy stuff. And we were in this, you know, middle-class house, something that I thought maybe, you know, if I worked hard enough, I could aspire to have. And I'm like, Dad, how much would I have to make to live in a house like this? And he was like, son, if you could make $50,000, you could own a house like this. So that's where it came from. $50,000 a year. That was happiness, because that house, you know, everyone on the walls and in the pictures, and they all looked happy, and you know, meeting the homeowner, and you know, they seemed happy. So I figured the house equaled happiness.
And it's funny how we start equating those things with happiness, right? And so right after high school, I didn't do the whole college thing. I went and got a sales job, and I figured out pretty quickly by age 19 that I could make $50,000 a year if I worked 6 or 7 days a week selling stuff, and I did. And the problem with making $50,000 a year at age 19 is I was spending $65,000, and the math, you know, I wasn't very good at math, but even just the elementary arithmetic didn't work out. And so I started working my way up the corporate ladder in my 20s, and I started accumulating stuff. I started working towards the American dream. And I started accumulating all of the things that were supposed to make me happy. And in the meantime, Ryan came and worked at the same corporation that I was working at, and we were working together, and we started climbing that corporate ladder together, and got kind of high up, and I felt kind of stuck on that corporate ladder. And so I started chasing happiness through things. You know, I built my first house at age 22, which I look back now, and that was crazy. But I started buying, you know, luxury cars, nice things, spending money, and it got to the point where I was making really good money, and I wasn't very happy. And I went to Ryan and said, you know, I think the equation was wrong. I don't think this $50,000 a year thing is going to equal happiness. I think we didn't adjust for inflation. So maybe it's not 50, maybe it's 80. But when I was making 80 and I was spending 100, and I just kept chasing that, eventually it got to the point where I was just making really good money, but I was spending even better money. And all the things around me that were supposed to bring me happiness weren't bringing me happiness at all. In fact, it was sort of the opposite. Instead of happiness, I got debt, a lot of debt, stress, discontent. I was overwhelmed, and eventually I got depressed because I realized that I was chasing this thing called happiness, but the more I chased it, the further away it was. And that was really difficult to face. And then in late 2009, a series of events sort of happened that made me start questioning everything. My mother had just moved down to Florida from Ohio, and as soon as she moved down there, she figured out she had lung cancer. And a few months later, she was gone. She died in October of 2009, and it was just a really incredibly difficult time in my life. And so I did what any son would do, is I went down to Florida, and I called up U-Haul. I rented the largest truck they had. I checked out a storage locker in Ohio because, of course, what was I going to do with her stuff? I didn't want to move it into my 3-bedroom house with a full basement because I couldn't possibly move her stuff in with my stuff, and it was just me and my wife, and I didn't want to co-mingle our stuff, so of course I'm going to put it in a storage locker just in case I need it someday. And those 3 words come up a lot, by the way, don't they? Just in case. I'll hold on to this just in case. So I went down to Florida, right? I went down there, and she had about 3 apartments worth of stuff in her one apartment. And it wasn't junk. You know, it wasn't like she was a hoarder. She had a lot of nice things, you know, really big antique furniture, stuff. She had 65 years worth of accumulations, basically. More doilies than I could count. She had a lot of stuff, right? And it wasn't junk. And I looked around at all this stuff, and I was kind of overwhelmed, but I said, okay, I get some movers, we'll move the stuff, I'll put it in the storage locker, I can put a padlock on it, and forget about it. And so I'm going through all her stuff, and packing it up, and waiting the next day for U-Haul to show up. And, well, next day comes around, and I find 4 boxes under her bed. And this sounds like a really bad mystery novel now, I know, but they were labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm not making this up. It just it lacks verisimilitude. No, I found these 4 boxes, and I didn't know what was in them. They were sealed. They had clearly been sealed for a very long time. And so these 4 boxes, I opened them up, and you know what I found? I found my old elementary school paperwork. They were labeled 1 through 4 because it was grades 1 through 4. And it was a bunch of my old writing, basically.
The original Josh Millburn writings. Should have held on to those, man.
One day they'll be worth nothing. And so I got kind of angry at first. So I wondered, why was my mom holding on to these things under her bed? She clearly wasn't accessing them. She wasn't finding any real value in this paperwork because she wasn't doing anything with it other than storing it. And that was frustrating, but I also got a little upset because I realized that, wait a minute, aren't I doing the same exact thing? Instead of boxing up some paperwork, I'm going to take all of her stuff and put it in this huge box with a padlock on it. And then maybe one day I will, go in there and look at it, even though I probably know that I'm not going to. I'm going to pay a monthly fee every month to hold on to her stuff. And so in the moment, I just made a decision, and I called up U-Haul. I canceled the truck. I called the storage locker place. I canceled the storage locker. I spent the next 12 days getting rid of her stuff. I either sold or donated or threw away some of the stuff. But most of the stuff I was able to sell or donate. And what was nice is the money that I got from selling some of the stuff. There were 2 charities down in St. Petersburg and Tampa Bay area that really helped her out through her chemo and radiation during her last days. So I was able to help out with some charities as well, as opposed to just holding on to her stuff. And so my mother dies. I get rid of all of her stuff. I drive back to Ohio with 4 boxes of pictures, which I figured out later you can actually scan and use, as opposed to putting in a closet or in a basement, or worse, like in photo albums and then shoving it on to guests when they come over. It's funny, when you put pictures in a digital picture frame, people actually are curious about what the picture is. So, what is that? Oh, you went to Hawaii. But if I were to give, like, hey, Ryan, do you want to take a look at my Hawaii pictures? Here's a photo album.
Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah. So I go back to Ohio, and I had been working 60, 70, usually 80 hours a week in the corporate world for a decade then. I was 28 at the time. And within a month of getting back, my marriage ends. And marriage to a really, great woman. And I just didn't know which way was up anymore. I had questions about everything in my life because I had to look around at all this stuff, at this identity I had in my corporate career, and I had to ask myself a question. Is this what you've been waiting for your entire life? And clearly it wasn't. At age 28, I had achieved success by society's standards, but I didn't feel successful at all. I felt the opposite of successful because I wasn't fulfilled. I didn't feel happy. And I was fat, and I was out of shape, and my life was just in shambles all around me. And so I just signed up for this thing called Twitter. Are any of us Twitter buddies at all? Like 3 of us? Okay. I've got my phone here. I'll live tweet. I'll take a picture or something. That way we can all be more engaged. But but no, I signed up for this thing called Twitter. And there was this guy named Colin Wright, and he actually came on this tour with us, but he's not here tonight because he was here the original. Well, he would have been here the original night. And he said he was a minimalist, and this thing called minimalism allowed him to pursue what he was passionate about. I could tell that he was genuinely happy. There was this video that someone retweeted, a video of his. And I saw this, and I said, you know what? I don't know what minimalism is, but I think I'm in. Sign me up. What do I need to do? Because I'm looking for any answer at this point. Everything around me has crumbled, and I need an answer. Why not give this thing a shot? And so I spent the next 8 months of my life really paring down my life, my possessions. Because even when I moved out of the house that my wife and I were living in, you know what my first inclination was? To accumulate all the same stuff, right? Of course I need a couch and a love seat and a chair and a coffee table and a dresser and a bed and a nightstand and a lamp and this other lamp and a TV and a TV stand. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things, right? But the problem is I didn't even question it. And I didn't question, are all of these things going to add value to my life? Do I really need them? Or could I better spend my time and or money on something else? And so I very deliberately started focusing on questioning the things in my life, asking that question, are these things adding value to my life? And the summer of 2010 rolls around, and I'd been simplifying my life, and Ryan and I were still working at the same corporate company, or same corporation, and Ryan comes to me and says, I want to take you out to lunch, man. I need to ask you something. He's usually pretty blunt with me. And so we go out to lunch. It was very, very nice lunch at Subway. And
You're welcome.
Yeah, so we're at Subway, and he goes, look, man, we've been talking about this happiness thing for a while, and I just need to ask you something. Why the hell are you so happy lately? And it was the first time that I realized that the actions I had taken in my life, I knew, like, internally, I was feeling better. I didn't have all the answers, but I knew that I was on the right path. And I knew I was feeling more satisfied inside. And it was the first time that someone had articulated it that way, that, wow, I can see the benefits of whatever you're doing, and I want to know why. And I told him about this whole minimalism thing, and showed him some different websites, not just Colin's, because Colin has a really cool story, right? He's this guy who travels to a new country every 4 months, based on where readers pick for him. So he doesn't even get the pick. So people online vote for him. He just got back from Romania. I have no desire to do that at all. But I showed him some other sites, too, that people with families. Leo Babauta, who runs a website called Zen Habits, and he has 6 kids, and he lives in San Francisco. And Joshua Becker, who has a family and a job and lives in the suburbs. And Courtney Carver and her husband in Utah. I mean, a bunch of people who had radically different lives, but who were all experiencing happiness. And one of the tools they were using was this thing called minimalism. And so I was talking to Ryan about minimalism, and I said, I don't know if this is the answer for everyone. I know it's really working well for me, and you might want to try it because you've got a lot of crap.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I, like Josh, I climbed the corporate ladder with him, and, we were telecommunication rock stars, I guess. And we were making really good money, and I spent every bit of it. I had a nice big condo, 2,000 square foot condo, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2 living rooms. I don't know why you need 2 living rooms, but.
Well, you had a cat.
Oh, yeah. I had a garage with a nice new truck in it and 4-wheeler and all that stuff. And the truck and the 4-wheeler was fun when I had time to use it, but I didn't really have a lot of time to enjoy it. So, kind of like what Josh said, we had been talking about happiness, and I was really, really confused, and I almost felt just ungrateful because I had everything that I always wanted. Like, if you were to tell my 18-year-old self what I was going to have at age 28, I would have been the most excited 18-year-old there ever was. Like, are you kidding me? I'm going to have all that stuff when I'm 28 years old. This is going to be the best life ever, you know? And it wasn't making me happy. And like I said, I kind of felt ungrateful because people, there's a lot of people out there who would love to have been in my spot. They would, just kill to be in my position. And I thought something was wrong with me. And so Josh showed me the minimalism stuff, and it's funny because the first thing he sent me was Colin Wright, and his video, he talks about how he only owns 50 things. And my first thought was, oh boy. Like, I do not want to just own 50 things, and I'd hope that's not what, Josh is trying to do too. But he, like Josh said, he showed me a few other sites too, and you had he named 4 people who were living very, meaningful lives. They were doing what they were passionate about, whether it was traveling or writing or whatever. And they were all doing this, and they attributed it to this lifestyle minimalism. So I called Josh up, and I said, Josh, I'm in, man. I'm a minimalist. Now what? So we were talking about it, and we came up with this idea of a packing party. I don't know if you guys read about that on the site or not.
Actually, I came up with the idea of packing. Ryan came up with the idea of a party.
Yeah, but if you throw a party on the end of anything, it sounds more fun, right? So packing party. The idea was because again, I'd accumulated all this stuff. I had a nice big condo full of stuff, a nice big garage full of stuff, and it wasn't making me happy. And when I was reading into the the different minimalist blogs, I began to wonder, like, what is important, So the idea was this: it was to pack up my entire condo and unpack day by day as I needed stuff. So we literally packed up everything. It took us about 8 hours to pack up everything. It wasn't too bad, but it was fun. We made it a party. But we packed up my sheets, we packed up my toiletries, my suits, my shoes, we covered up my furniture, we covered up my TVs. I packed up the internet. Unplugged the modem, put it in a box. And I'd labeled everything really, really good so I could find everything. If you walked into my first living room, there were boxes stacked to the ceiling, and they had labels on them like kitchen, junk drawer number 1, bathroom, junk drawer number 7. It was really well marked, and I literally just unpacked stuff as I needed it day by day. I thought it was a pretty cool idea for an experiment. So you can imagine that first night, I unpacked the sheets to my bed. I unpacked a suit for work the next day. I unpacked some shoes for the next day, and so on and so forth. The next day I came home from work. What do you think the first thing I unpacked was? It was my TV. And which really made me think. It was like, why am I going right to the TV? That's weird. And then, of course, I went to unpack my internet. As the 21 days continued, I was unpacking less and less stuff. I think that last week I hardly unpacked anything. And at the end of the experiment, it was a big revelation moment for me, because in those boxes in that living room, I had 75% of my stuff still in boxes. And it was just this big revelation moment. Wow, here's all this stuff that I've been accumulating my whole life to make me happy, and it's not doing its job. So I did exactly what Josh did with his mom stuff. I either threw it away, or I donated it, or I sold it. Most of it I donated. I mean, I kept a few things because we lived in the Midwest, so some seasonal items I had to hang on to. But yeah, it was really, really interesting. And I called Josh up. I'm like, dude, this was a really good experiment. I think people will actually connect with this. They'll get this. Maybe not everybody, but I think there's people out there who will understand where we're coming from. And we decided to document that journey on our website, which we later found out was a blog. Because, I mean, we were just ignorant to the whole scene, really. We had no idea. I thought a blog was an 80-year-old grandmother, like, cataloging pictures of her cats and grandkids and stuff. But we had a website, not a blog. Yeah, so, it was crazy. I remember the first month, Josh called me up. He was so happy. We started this in December of 2011? 2010? Oh, that's right.
2 years ago.
It's been 2 years, yeah. So he calls me at the end of December, and he's like, "You'll never believe it, man. 50 people came to our website." I'm like, "That's great, man. People are reading our stuff." I'm like, like my mom doesn't count it. She comes to the website like 50 times in a month, right? And, 50 turned into 100, 100 turned into 1,000, 1,000 turned into, 10,000, and it grew really, really quick. And it was really amazing. It felt really good, too, to have some validation that I wasn't completely crazy. And all of you showing up tonight proves that, too. But, I'm like, dude, we're the Minimalists. We should totally write a book on minimalism. So during this time when the website was growing, we were also working on this book together, and we were just pretty much putting down all of our thoughts and all of our feelings, throughout our journey. What led us there, and the things that we got out of it. So we had this book done in about 7 or 8 months. It was 350 pages long. You can taste the irony, right? I mean, it's a book on minimalism, 350 pages long. So we didn't scrap it completely because it was a good book. But what we did is, drastically attenuated it. And we were able to find some common themes throughout the book. And the 5 things that we talk about in the book are, well, the first one is health. That's where we start, because if you're unhealthy, you're probably depressed. That's just how it is. The second thing we focus on is relationships. In this busy, busy world, we put off some of the most important people in our lives for the sake of things, whether it's a material possession or whether it's a vacation or whatever. And for me, that was my biggest one, because my mom, she lived like a half hour away from me, and I might have seen her 6 or 7 times a month or a year, not even once a month. And there's something wrong with that. She lives a half hour away, and I've only seen her 6 times in a year. But it's funny too, though, because when I would show up for those major family gatherings, holidays or whatnot, they'd all give me a pat on the back, like, "Yeah, there's Ryan, he made it. Yeah," they gave me the affirmation that I was doing everything I was supposed to do, But it didn't feel right. So relationships, we talk about, how it's important to focus on the people you love. The third thing we talk about is pursuing your passion or cultivating your passion. It's really hard to go to work 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, live for the weekends, come home, watch TV, eat dinner, go to bed, get up, rinse, repeat. And if you're only doing that, if you're only in that cycle and you're not doing anything for yourself, it can feel very draining. It can feel very unfulfilling. So we talk about cultivating passions. And then the last 2 things we talk about kind of go together: growth and contribution. We all have a desire to grow, every single one of us. This is why we move out of our parents' house. This is why we go to school. This is why we get married. This is why we go on vacation. All those are growth experiences, and we as humans have the desire to grow. And Josh and I feel that, the best way to grow is through contributing beyond yourself to others. So those are the 5 things we talk about in the book, and I don't want to go too far over.
Let me see. We go. Yeah, we should probably do Q&A.
So this is about you guys. So I'm gonna stop it there. But we'd love to hear from you, and we'll open it up to questions. I guess you just walk up to the mic. Yes, I'm getting a nod. Don't everybody rush to the mics.
All right, a few of you can rush to the mic.
Awesome.
And just if you'll do me a favor, just say your name, and then if you want to say something really crazy about why you came, and then you ask your question, that'd be great.
Sure. My name's Tom Sellers. I'm only 20 years old, a college kid. I'm probably younger than most of the faces I see here.
Ouch.
Or older, I don't know.
This is
Next.
The reason I'm actually here is because I had not heard of you guys. I only recently heard of you guys 3 weeks ago when Colin Wright actually sent an email saying, hey, I'm going to be traveling with you guys.
Okay.
Because he, in fact, was the one that he got me into minimalism as well.
Nice.
I guess I don't so much have a question as more of a kind of a thanks for what you guys are doing, because
awesome.
It really has, and it's not helped me, it's helped so many people out there realize that there's always kind of a dissatisfaction we all have, and this really shows that, you know, the American dream that we all kind of think of as this quintessential view of how the world should be is not always the best way. So I just want to say thank you so much for what you guys do.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, that never gets old either, the thank yous. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, it's so cool to see young guys like you out, too, because it just really shows, like, how the demographic behind this thing, how it really is for everybody, you know?
Who's the youngest person here right now? I won't do oldest. I see one up front. 9. Ooh, yes, you.
How old?
15.
How about
That's
in the back?
awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Is it her kid?
Yeah.
I saw somebody pointing to somebody back there.
Yeah. You
Oh,
know,
12. Okay, that's cool.
One of the things that we've sort of found out through this whole thing is we had an 11-year-old bring his father in Albuquerque. You know, that was really cool. We had an 83-year-old in St. Louis who brought her daughter and her daughter's daughter and her daughter's daughter's daughter with her. And what I'm finding is that this message isn't applicable to a demographic, right? It's applicable to anyone with an open mind. That's the only demographic I have in mind is people who have an open mind and are willing to make some or looking to make some changes in their life, for sure. But thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate that.
Go for it, man.
My name's Jason. I also want to thank you. You just nailed my point. I'd never heard of you guys today. Buddy posted something in a message board with 5 of our best friends, and I took a chance. This is day number 1. Thank you.
Awesome, man.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
very
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Howdy. How are you?
Good. So I've been paring down my life year after year.
Yes.
And I've questioned a couple of areas. My name's Linda, and I came because I love minimalism. One, I'd love to hear you talk about transportation, because that's a biggie for me, keeping a car or not keeping a car. And the other one, you know, when I'm paring down things, to what extent do you, at your age, keep just enough for yourself, or do you keep enough for yourself and to be able to provide for others?
It's a really good question. I'll take the easier part. The transportation piece.
Okay.
Yeah. We share a unicycle.
That's awesome.
No, actually, we've been traveling the country in our tour bus. It's a Toyota Corolla, and it's gotten us by really well. But you know, I'm all for a car-free lifestyle. In fact, we moved. They mentioned we're either doing the Thoreau thing or the Unabomber thing. I hope it's more the former, but we we moved to Montana at the end of last year, and you know, doing the really cliched rider in a cabin thing, and so that's been great. But where we are, you have to have a car, otherwise you might die. And so we have a car there, but we're moving to Missoula in next month. We're working on this project with Colin together, And so, yeah, I'm actually going to test out a car-free lifestyle there for a while, which is not a big city. It's certainly not Seattle, but I can get by there without a car. So I'm going to test it out for a little while. A, it'll give me something to write about, but B, it's I'm always doing these things to sort of these little stoical experiments to test my psyche, to test my life, and to grow. That's my short answer.
So yeah, as far as like the stuff that we hold on to and who do we hold on to it, or how much we hold on for other people. I'll start off by saying, this has never been about deprivation for us. It hasn't, it's not about, let's see, the smallest amount of items that I can own. I mean, it's so 2011. But no, seriously, I mean, it did seem like everyone came out with like this, I only own 100 things, I only own 75 things, I only own 50 things. I think some guy got down to like 28 or something. So, it's
yeah, but they like, but all of my underwear counts as one thing.
Right. Yes. So, I don't sit around and count my stuff. What I do is I've got a couple different things. First off, I'll also preface it with this. Everyone has different circumstances and different situations. So, I don't have any kids. I'm just, a single guy who eats rice and beans pretty much every single day because it's easy. I mean, it's, so the rules that I have around my lifestyle are before I buy anything, whether it's a service or whether it's a product or, whether it's an experience, I will ask myself, is this going to add value? If it's a product, especially if it's like just a more expensive gadget or something, I'll really question, like, do I really need this? And I'll spend usually a week or two, like, contemplating whether or not I need it. So there's the first part, and then the second part is if I have anything that I haven't used, with the exception of seasonal items, if I haven't used it within 6 months, I'll get rid of it. So that's how I pretty much gauge the stuff that I have. But as I get older and hopefully get married one day and have kids, maybe, I don't know. I'll need more stuff. I'll have to get more stuff. But it'll be more deliberate, for sure. I hope that answered your question. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
This I know.
Hey guys, my name is Shiva. First of all, thank you so much for coming here. So I have 2 questions actually, and the first one you already kind of answered. But since I saw this that you guys were going to be here, I've been going around asking people what do you think minimalism exactly is, and different people have different things to say. And in a nutshell, they say, yeah, it's to do with like not having many possessions. So I was wondering, like, what are the tenets of minimalism? Is it like just about not owning much? Like, is it all about possessions, or is there like more to it? Does it like translate into other things? So that's my first question.
Okay.
And the other one is kind of like more, like I'm curious because I have a blog and I was wondering, so you guys started a blog, and you said that, yeah, there were like 50 people, and then it just kind of like spiraled down and you just got like tons and tons of viewers. So I was wondering if, was there anything you were specifically doing to increase the number of people that were visiting your blog, or they just happened by word of mouth?
Both really good questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'll take the first one. I can answer them both. But no, I'd like this question a lot about what is minimalism, because it is a very nebulous term, and that's what I like about it. There is no specific definition or guidelines behind what does it take to be a minimalist. I mean,
we actually joked once we were going to publish a book. It was like a 500-page book on the rules of minimalism, and it was just going to be blank pages.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think you could be a car collector and still be a minimalist. I mean, you could be whatever. There's nothing around it. For us, what minimalism is about is living deliberately. It's about not buying into, or I should say, buying into as little of the 500,000 bits of input that we all get every single day. You probably get more here in the city. So for us, it's about asking what adds value instead of doing things because, it's what you're supposed to do, or it's what your family thinks you're supposed to do, or it's what your boss thinks that you're supposed to do. It's about living deliberately and asking the question: the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm buying, is this really adding value to my life, or is this doing the opposite?
As far as growing a blog, we didn't know for several months it was actually called a blog. Ryan wasn't kidding about that. We were really ignorant to the whole thing. We started this thing in December of 2010, so just 2 years ago, and I didn't even know how to spell HTML at the beginning of it. I had just no clue.
When we started the website, we literally tried to do it in HTML coding. We had
it looks as simple as it does, or it did at least, because we just didn't know how to make it any more complex. I can tell you that those two words that you hear come up with us a lot. You're asking what did we do? Add value. Without question, that's the number one thing you can do, is add value to other people's lives. Because I don't know about you, but when I find something, I see something, read something that I get value from, what's the first thing I want to do? Share it. Share it with the people I love. And when someone you love shares something with you, it means a lot more than if a stranger spams you or someone posts it on the Facebook or something, right? Someone sends that to you in an email. Or sometimes, people will tweet it or they'll share it on Facebook or wherever, and that's great. But they only do that when you add value. When they find some sort of value in something, they will pass it on to people. And that's when 50 turned into, 50,000 in the first, 6 months or whatever. And it grew from there. We had 1 million people last year come to the website. And so that's great, but it all came from adding value. It wasn't about growth. Here's the other thing I'll tell you. That time when I called him, it was 52 people that showed up at that month. And I still remember it because it was one of the most exciting times of my life. I had written for 7 or 8 years prior to that, written literary fiction. That's always been my thing. Totally ignorant to the nonfiction genre. This is a really beautiful accident, and I'm really glad it worked out. But it was exactly that. And so when 52 people had read my stuff, you have to understand the last 7 years before that, the only people who read my stuff were people who sent me rejection letters. People who said, no, this isn't very good. And now 52 people actually showed up. And I can tell you the feeling from then to several 100,000 people showing up is not appreciably different. It's not scalable like that. Because for me, it was never about, I want to have a huge readership. It was, I want to add value to other people's lives. And I knew as long as I did that it would help. We also wrote something about it. If you just go to theminimalist.com/blog, there we wrote a whole thing about how we did it from sort of start to finish as well.
Yeah,
Thank
I think
you so much.
Yeah, the adding value. I'll just add to that. The adding value piece is definitely should be top priority for your blog, because let's say that you get on the Huffington Post. Let's say they do a guest post for you or whatever. If people go to your website and you're not continuing to add value, the traffic's not going to stick. So yeah, the adding value piece is hands down the most important part. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jacob. I've been doing this minimalist thing for about 2 years now.
Okay.
And my
Me
question,
too.
You too? Fantastic. It's a good thing you're on stage. My question is that I'm pretty good at it, but there's times where I'll have like impulse buys. Like I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, I gotta have that.
Yeah.
And then I'll get home with Cyrus Black's Swan from the Harry Potter movie, and I'll be like, why did I buy this?
I do that with gummy bears.
Yeah, with gummy bears? Yeah. I guess you could eat them.
Yeah.
But my question is that it's happening enough that I'm trying to figure out how to counter it, because I'll be like, oh, I didn't need this, and I'll donate it or give it away. Mm-hmm. You might not have this problem now, but when you were just starting out, did you have troubles with impulse buying, and how did you guys counter that?
Yeah, I'll answer this one because it was something that was really big for me, actually. I'm very sort of impulsive. Well, right after we started the website, I needed something to write about, and it was New Year's 2011. And I said, well, we're the minimalists now. You know what? I'm going to not buy any material possessions for the entire year. Which,
Besides consumables.
yeah, I mean, I still bought deodorant and yeah, basically hygiene products and food is what I bought, but no material possessions. So it was a rather ambitious ambition, and I didn't realize how difficult that was going to be. And because I caught myself going to the store, and I would see something, and before my first inclination was what? Oh, that's really nice. I think I'll buy it because I could afford it, or my credit card could afford it, and I would pick it up, and then I would have to say, oh wait, I can't buy it. I'm not buying anything for a year, and after about 2 months, I noticed a slight switch in me where I would see something, and instead of saying, oh, that's really nice, I think oh wait, I can't buy it, and I started reprogramming myself maybe. About 4 months in, I had this complete change. I would go up to something and I would say, oh, that's really nice. And then that was it. I lost the impulse to buy, but what I was able to do is still appreciate the thing for what it was. You know, it's really cool now. We're staying on a boat in Seattle. Someone offered for us to stay on a boat here. And it's not like now I get to actually enjoy ownership of a boat for a night. Without having to take care of the thing, and boat party tonight, guys. But what I've noticed is that you can enjoy things, you can get value from things without having to possess them yourself, and it took that at least 4 months. After 4 months, things got a lot easier. I would recommend trying that out. Experiments really helped me out. But I will tell you, it does come back, though. So afterwards, I still get that impulse, but I have to remind myself. It's a lot less strong, but I still get it. It's constantly questioning, asking that question, does this thing add value to my life? Yeah, good question.
By the way, his experiment failed.
Oh, yes, it did.
Just so you know. I mean, I hate to call you out on stage in front of all these people, but...
Do you want to do this here? No, well, actually, summer of 2011, I spilled tea on my computer, and yeah, I make a living online, a meager living online, but a living online, and I write, and so I spent about a month writing on yellow legal pads.
He would come over to my condo with, like, it was really crazy. Like,
hey, can I borrow your computer?
Writings of a madman. He had to use my computer and write stuff down.
Yeah, so I eventually what I found out is what Ryan said. This whole thing isn't about deprivation, and I found more value in the item that I needed, but I was using it as a tool, and I think it was good to go without it for a while to really test my limits there. But ultimately, it was a net positive for me. So I decided, you know what, I've got to buy another laptop, and I did. So, yeah, I think it was important to realize I didn't want to deprive myself.
Yeah, and it's like the experiments you read about in our book or on our website. I mean, they're just that. It's an experiment. It's not, we're not advocating to never buy anything again, because you are gonna have to buy something eventually. It's just about reprogramming that twitch. Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi.
Howdy.
Hi, my name is Judy, and I'm here because my husband and I want to do some extensive traveling. In fact, we were supposed to meet up with some couch surfers tonight, but we got here too late to meet them. Hi.
Minimalism, bringing people together.
Amen.
So my question is, my husband and I, we've got, we saved some money so that we can do maybe a year of traveling before we have kids. But we'll have to quit our jobs to do that. And all of our friends think that this is really great, and if we want to do that and not have like a steady income for a year, pick up odd jobs here or there, like that's awesome and we should do it. And our family is a little more hesitant in supporting us. They said, well, why don't you keep doing what you're doing, work, and then take 1 or 2 nice trips a year. and that's not what we want to do. So I was just wondering, when you quit your jobs and moved to Montana to write this book, what sort of things did you say to them to sort of like assuage their fears and say, hey, this is just the lifestyle that I want to pursue?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that, because my mom called me up probably after a couple months. We had the website up, and she's like, "Hey, son." She has a deep voice. "What is this minimalism stuff?" And I'm like, "Oh, you found the website. That's great," because we didn't tell anybody about it. Like, she must have Googled my name or something. And she's like, "What is this? What does this mean? What are you doing? I mean, can I not buy you presents anymore? Is that what this is about? And,
Boy, I was a minimalist before you were
yeah,
born.
she did. Yeah. No, she actually did say that. So, we kind of went back and forth, and I've always told her about the presents thing. Like, Mom, I love you, but the $15 that you spend on that tie that I don't ever wear and end up giving away, you could use that $15 more than I can use that tie. So this is like a kind of an argument that we've always had. But I stuck to my guns, and I'm like, it's about a lot of things, Mom. But I said, yeah, I'd prefer you not to buy me presents. This isn't really anything new to you, but I would appreciate it if you would. She's like, well, I'm gonna buy you things anyways. I'm like, okay. Well, if you do, then I'm probably gonna end up like giving the stuff away, honestly, if I don't need it. That is not the thing to say to your mother, by the way. So we went back and forth, for another 10 or 15 minutes, and she got pretty heated. And, it eventually got to a point, though, where I was like, Mom, let me ask you something. You want me to be happy, right? She's like, well, yeah, of course I want you to be happy. And I said, good, I want you to be happy, too. So if you want me to be happy, I really would like you to support me on this. Because living this type of lifestyle and the things that I'm learning, it's making me happy. And that really clicked with her. Because relating it back to your situation, your family thinks that maybe you should just take a couple trips, but that's not what's going to make you happy. It's taking that year off, doing what you want to do, then starting a family. And that's the best advice I could give is, just kind of ask that question of it. You want to be happy, right? Like, this is going to make me happy. This is making me happy.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Frank, and I'm 26, so I'm probably on the younger end of the scale of people here. Not quite at the 9-year-old, but close. Anyway, I was just wondering, I've got 2 questions, and you can feel free not to answer the second. You'll find out in a second. But I was wondering if you were in the process of getting rid of everything and starting to not do pretty much anything. I'm thinking essentially what Leo Babauta does. Mm-hmm. What is the one physical thing and one ephemeral thing that you absolutely could not get rid of?
Computer. Physical thing. Ephemeral thing for me would probably be snowboarding. That's ephemeral, right?
That works. That works, yeah.
One of my favorite pedagogical techniques when I don't want to answer a question is I answer a different question. No, Frank, I think it's a really good question. What I will say is I think ultimately I can give up pretty much anything. The thing, material-wise, because what I've realized is the things that are in my life now are things that I get value from, I use as tools. All the things I own now are sort of my favorite things. And that's weird to say, but like all of my clothes are my favorite clothes now. I don't own a ton of clothes, but all the things in my life add value to my life. They're functional too, or they have some sort of beauty or aesthetically pleasing. In fact, I think if you were to walk into my house, you wouldn't come over and say, "This guy's a minimalist." Because you say minimalism, you think like stark white walls and
Empty
hospital
rooms.
sterile, and like there's some sort of Zen master there in the middle, and
Pretty much sounds like our place. Just kidding.
no, I mean you would just come over and say, wow, these guys are kind of tidy. And we just don't have a lot of things to clutter up our life. But as far as the things in my life, they don't mean as much to me anymore. I could get rid of anything and know that it's replaceable, and that's a really good feeling. The things I wouldn't want to give up are the things Ryan talked about. I wouldn't want to give up my health. You know, I used to weigh 70 pounds more than I weighed now, and I didn't just look like crap. I felt like crap. And so, you know, to me, health is something that's really important to me. And it's not about having, like, you know, washboard abs and vanity muscles. Like, I just want to feel good. And that's what's important to me. I just want to feel really good. And so, yeah, anything that has to do with my health or with contributing to other people, those are things that are really important to me. Really great question, though. Thanks, man.
And the second one, which was the one you can feel free not to answer, is how minimalism has affected your life in terms of your sort of philosophical, spiritual outlook. Because for me, for example, well, I've been practicing yoga for a couple of years now. Well, it's sort of become my primary form of physical exercise in my spiritual life, and I find that the more intensely I practice, the more minimalist I come, and the more minimalist I come, the more I practice, because it allows me to focus on that. And I was wondering what effect, if any, minimalism has had on your life in terms of spirituality or philosophical outlook.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, philosophically, my philosophies have changed pretty radically. You know, I used to be a director of operations for 150 retail stores. Yeah, which is, you know, you see the irony there, right? And so my philosophies have changed pretty drastically because of minimalism. In terms of spirituality, you know, it's interesting. We go to these things, and we tend to not talk much about, like, even Ryan and I have different religious beliefs, but people will come up to us afterwards and say, well, you're obviously Buddhists. And then the third person in line after them will say, well, it's great to see a couple Christians come out and really spread Jesus' message. And I'm like, you know what? To me, it's applicable. One of the guys I mentioned earlier, Joshua Becker, he's a pastor, and so this lifestyle is applicable to him. You have Leo Babalta, who runs Zen Habits. You can figure that one out. So for me, I think what happens is getting rid of the stuff that's in the way opens up your path to spirituality, and that's really the best answer I can give.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks for the
Appreciate
question.
it.
Hi, thanks
Howdy.
for coming tonight. My name's Andrew, and it's actually my first exposure to you guys and to the idea of minimalism. A friend recommended this.
Welcome.
Yeah, so I have a couple questions. Actually, thank you very much. Also, it's really kind of altered a lot. It made me think about new things in new ways, so I appreciate that very
cool.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how, obviously, I mean, that's a huge, huge transition to drop a six-figure job. And I assume you're making money through your writing and through advertising on your blog and stuff. Could you talk a little bit? I have a couple questions. That's one question. Could you talk a little bit about that transition? Is it a major scale down in income coming in? And how do you actually support yourself now?
Sure.
And then the second question I have is, I wasn't familiar with minimalism, and but a couple years ago I made this. Live in a very small space, so I made this big purge and got rid of a bunch of stuff. And I was amazed at how emotionally difficult it was to let go of stuff. Like, I actually was despondent for a day. And then afterwards, I felt elated and
Yes.
and unburdened. But could you I realize I have this, and I think I'm a pretty frugal person, but I realize I have this crazy relationship to stuff. And I think as Americans, we tend to have that sort of this weird relationship to stuff, even if we don't realize it. I spend a lot of time overseas, and some of my Thai friends, they're kind of upper middle class, very well-to-do, but their homes there's hardly anything in their homes, but they're much happier, I think, than we are as Americans. I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but I'm just kind of curious, did you run into any sort of, when you were paring down your possessions, did you run into sort of internal resistance, and how did you deal with that? Like, how did you deal with that? Like, when I try to make further purchase, I still run into this, like, I can't get rid of this. It feels like I'm cutting off an arm or something, even though a few days later I feel great about it.
Right.
So just curious about that.
Which one do you want to take?
The one you don't want to take.
I kind of want to answer both of them.
Have at it.
All right, so where'd you go? Oh, right there we go. I'm like, I swear to God, there was a man standing there next to the mic. No, so the transition from corporate life to what we do now, there certainly was a plan that we had individual plans behind our exit strategy. So it involved a lot of paying down debt. It involved a lot of discipline, spending discipline, for sure. But we certainly don't advocate to just quit your job and start a blog. That would be silly. But anything, as long as you can see the end result, anything is possible as long as you put a plan and stick to the plan. So I mean, it didn't happen overnight. I was in my job for almost a year before I talked my boss into laying me off. But yeah, I spent a lot of that time preparing for this. And I'll tell you what, the cool thing about being a minimalist is I didn't have that many bills. I was paring down on all my bills too, so I didn't need to make that much money. I'll tell you, like right now, I make way less money than what I used to make. I've never been happier though, and that I wouldn't trade for anything. But yeah, that packing party, when I was sitting there looking at all that stuff, the revelation moment of, wait a minute, I'm going to purge this stuff, but I've got bigger stuff that I can purge too. I can get rid of this condo. I can get rid of my new car and get rid of this payment. I can sell my 4-wheeler. I can pare down and live on a small budget. So that's the answer to the first question. You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think the question was, how do you make an income now? Like, I guess after that. There's a few ways that we make money now. Books, which we're not trying to sell you any, but they're over at the merch table. No, I mean, we've been really fortunate in terms of book sales. We've had a couple #1 books that have gone really well, and so that's been great. I teach a writing class online. There's this thing that I talk about a lot called transference. So you take a skill that you have. Like I had a set of skills in the corporate world, and I sort of tweezed out the ones that I liked and enjoyed. And one of those things was teaching other people, and I managed a large group of people, and so I knew how to teach people. And now I teach an online writing class. I don't have a college degree, but I can teach a class online, and I've learned how to write on my own. So I transferred that one skill to something else. And Ryan did the same thing. He does mentoring with private one-on-one clients, and that's something he was really great at in the corporate world. So he took that skill and left behind all the stuff that he didn't want. I'll tell you this though, I didn't have a ton of money saved up when I left. I spent a ton of money paying off debt. So doing the ramen noodles thing for a while. And really focusing on paying down debt was important to me before, and that was part of my plan for leaving.
And then the second question was about, how do we get rid of that emotional attachment? So when we were packing up my house, I'm like putting stuff in boxes, nice and neat, and like labeling them. And Josh has got a trash bag, and he's just like hurling stuff in it. I'm like,
it's so much easier to get rid of other people's stuff.
So, but yeah, he's doing that. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I might need that Hummel collection. Like, I have no idea. And you know, he's like, dude, you can't hang on to all this stuff. And he's like pointing out like, you know, ridiculous stuff that I am holding on to just in case I'll need it one day. I didn't have too many sentimental things. A lot of photos were really big with me. So I mean, I scanned those and was able to keep those, you know, on my computer. But I'll tell you what really helped me is I made a rule for myself when after the 21 days and I was, you know, getting rid of everything. If there was something that I was hesitating to hold on to, I asked this question: when's the last time I used this item? And if it was more than a year ago, then I got rid of it. And now, like I said earlier, I have like a 6 month rule. But I would suggest that with a lot of items is, you know, when's the last time you actually used it? Because what we do is we hang on to like really weird stuff. Like I had like a tea maker. So I have no idea that I never even used. Like my mom just gave it to me, and my mom pushing stuff on me all the time. No, but yeah, no, it's just, you know, there's certain things that we hold on to just in case, especially if it's a gift. Like you feel so bad giving somebody else's gift away, but at the end of the day, if you know, for me, I could ask that question: have I used this in the last year? Have I worn that tie in the last year? And if the answer was no, then I got rid of it. So it's really about the internal rules that you build for yourself. You know, maybe it's not a year for you, maybe it's 2 years, or maybe it is 6 months for you. But, you know, build internal rules for yourself and stick to those rules, and that'll definitely help with a lot of that.
Take pictures. One mom stuff that really helped me out a lot was I had a big emotional attachment to it, and I realized that things trigger memories, but the pictures can trigger the same memories, and so that was something that was big for me, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for the questions.
I'm going to go to a lightning round of questions since it looks like we've got 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do one question at a time, and then just one of us will answer it.
Perfect.
Cool.
Lightning round, go.
Hi, my name's Emily. I have one question.
Awesome.
About smartphones.
Yes.
I feel like there are these devices that could be seen as really minimalist. They streamline everything. You don't have to have all these other devices. You have one that does a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they're also one device that takes up a lot of space in life in a very negative way, at least for me. That kind of like discourage these really meaningful interactions. They're always just this like distraction in your pocket. And so I just was curious about your thoughts on smartphones.
Yeah, we were just having this conversation back in they have a green room for us, which is funny.
Because we talk about on a daily basis how we want to like just chuck our phones out the window. Yeah.
It's been an invaluable tool for us while we're on the road, for sure. I mean, it's helped out immensely. Here's what I'll say: it's a tool that we can abuse. You know, it's great because it does all these things. It's a problem because it does all these things, and so it's really about what minimalism is about for us is about using things deliberately. You know, I made the joke earlier about live tweeting from here. I'd totally be fine with that, but I wouldn't do it in front of, if Ryan and I were just sitting down having a conversation, or if Emily, you and I were sitting down having a conversation, I wouldn't pull out my phone and start texting someone. It's about being a lot more deliberate, and that's hard. Because I call it a twitch. I got rid of my phone for 2 months altogether, like no phone, like pay phones. It was one of those experiments, and I found myself looking for my phone in the weirdest place. You know, I was standing at the urinal and I'm reaching in my back pocket, and you get that twinge, that panic, like, holy crap, my phone's gone, and it's really difficult because you realize you have this twitch. You've developed this twitch. You want to check your text messages. You want to check your email. Did I miss any calls? And so what I do now is I still use a phone, but I use it a lot more deliberately. After 2 months, I went back to using a phone, and now I will leave it in the car if I'm going to go meet someone. And if I'm going to be interacting with anyone where it just requires my attention, I make sure that it's not there. It's not part of that. But it's still something that I struggle with all the time, and it's something I have to keep in check, because otherwise it's really easy to pacify yourself with it. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, being present. Right. What's going on inside you too? I think that's just as important. Knowing what emotions are sort of going on inside you. It's easy to pacify yourself with a device because it's shiny. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it.
Hi, my name's Andrew.
Thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah, thank you. My mom made me come here. I've never.
That's a quote of the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is she here?
Yeah, she's right over there.
That's great.
But I've never heard of either of you, and I've never heard of minimalism. But I'm still glad that I came out. I basically have a question relating to just systematically just getting rid of your stuff. Basically, I'm going through kind of a transitional part of my life. I just graduated from college, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I had this plan that I was going to live in the college town that I was living in. I lived with my girlfriend. I was going to just get a job and wait till she finished up with school, and then she was going to move up here and live with me. But things kind of happened. We broke up, and it sucks on a profound level. And
sorry to hear about that, man.
yeah. So basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to take a train down to the college town that I lived in, go to the house that I lived in with my girlfriend, and systematically pack up all my stuff and move up here without her. And I was just basically wondering, how do you systematically just... I'm hoping, I figure it's as good a time as any to kind of just start a new phase of my life, and so I would really like to come up here with half the stuff that I had. So basically, how do you systematically just go through everything you have? And also, if you own things with somebody else, what do you do with that stuff that you own together?
Can I answer the cell phone question? No, I'm kidding. It's a really good question, man. I hope this helps. I would develop a plan before I went down there to get my stuff. And by plan, I mean, write out on paper, what it is that you need and absolutely have to bring back with you, and make some rules around, just like I was telling the other gentleman, make some rules for yourself and stick to them when you go down there. So if the rule is I'm not going to take anything back with me that I haven't used in a year, then stick to that rule. And or if it's something that you don't need or that's not going to add value, I mean, stick to those rules. As far as what do you do when you co-own stuff, I don't know, get a lawyer? I mean, I've been in this situation. What would you say?
Let it go.
Handle it?
No, let it go.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. Yeah.
I mean, I know that's much easier said than done, but the other thing I would say is support system. It's invaluable. Yeah, having someone else go with you could help out a lot.
Definitely.
Ryan has helped me immensely through the whole journey, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks
for the question.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Howdy.
Hi, my name's MJ. Apparently I'm part of the elderly majority here. And my question is, I found you guys through Life Edited.
Okay.
And I follow Colin, and I know you've talked about a couple other minimalists that are couples, but as a woman, I mean, are there any women that are out there in the movement? I really haven't found any, because as a mom, I think our issues are different, right? Because I have those boxes of stuff and baby teeth and,
Yeah.
all those kinds of things, right? And you don't want to be bad mom who doesn't put the macaroni ornament on the tree. So.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Ryan actually has some baby teeth with him still. They're in his pocket. No, it's a great question. In fact, one of our good friends, Courtney Carver, she runs a website called Be More With Less. It's BeMoreWithLess.com. And she also runs something called Project 333, which I really recommend to anyone who wants to try to simplify their wardrobe. That was a big thing for me. You know, I had a ton of suits and dress shirts and stuff. But I found that it's very appealing to women. I'd say the best dressed people that come to our meetups usually are people that are doing Project 33. It's pretty simple. You own 33 pieces of clothes for 3 months. You don't throw away all your other stuff. You just hide it away in boxes for a while, and you try it out. And there's a whole community around it, so it's really cool. But Courtney Carver is a great example. There's quite a few others, too. Tammy Struble, she runs a couple different websites. She writes about being car-free. She lives down in Portland. Nina Yowell is another one. But there is definitely a lot of people in the minimalist community. But I would definitely start with Courtney Carver and figure out where to go from there. She's got a great story. She has kids. She has family.
We got some links on our site too, right?
Yeah.
If you go to our website, go to the links. You can. They're all everyone he mentioned. We link to. Yeah. Okay. There's some others too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy.
Hi, my name is Charlotte. I grew up in Missoula, so if you guys have any questions for me, let me know.
Awesome. Thank you.
So my question is, you have your regular expenses, your rent, your car, your gas, food. Is there anything that you're spending money on that we wouldn't expect? Obviously, somebody said you snowboard, so you're spending money on that.
Yeah. Yeah, snowboarding, I still will go and see a movie. I'll still rent a movie. It's more about asking that that question, going back to, is this adding value? So snowboarding for me, I love it. It is. It's a great time. I can't express to you how much I love it. So to me, it adds a ton of value. And there's a lot of equipment that goes along with snowboarding. It is. But the things that I bring into my life, whether because it's not about buying the cheapest of something, or again, it's not about deprivation. So if I do bring something into my life, I don't really question the, it's going to cost this X amount of dollars, and if I don't have it is one thing, but I don't ever turn something down because it's over a certain price point.
Right, but I mean something that you're spending money on every month that we wouldn't expect. Nothing.
I didn't catch that. What
Couldn't
was
afford it. I heard mistress, I think.
Oh, mistress.
Probably not. I still spend money on music. I'm one of the few people I know that still pays for music. And I will, and music plays a big role in my life, and so it's something that's important to me. I get a lot of value from concerts. We went to a concert here in Seattle last night, and that was great. But more experiential things than monthly bills. Most of my other than I've got a cell phone, I've got rent, I have car insurance.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer. I have to buy Fabergé eggs. I buy at least one a month. Right. I mean, no, I can't think of anything that would be too surprising. But yeah, thanks for the question.
So much.
Yeah.
Hi guys.
Howdy.
You guys are my homepage.
Oh,
Awesome.
yeah?
Hi.
Thank
Hi.
you.
My name's Barry. My question for you is, how has the way that you assess quality changed in the last couple of years, whether it be the food you buy or the shoes you buy or the snowboards you buy?
Great question.
I will preface it with this: all the snowboarding stuff I've had it for 3 or 4 years. I haven't bought anything new for snowboarding the last 3 or 4 years, but
yeah, to me, quality is really important. Actually, I don't have a lot of things, but the things I have are pretty nice, and they work well. It's not about logos or brands though, as it is about quality. Quality is something that's important to me, especially if it's something that's going to last, for a longer period of time, because I'm using it. The only thing I'll say about that is, I still have to ask that question though: is this thing adding value to my life? Because I noticed something fairly recently, within the last year, that things that add value to my life today aren't necessarily going to add value to my life tomorrow. And there are things from my past that added value then that I don't get any value from now, and I have to be willing to let go of that stuff if I'm no longer getting value from it. Great question, though. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We got 2 more. Awesome.
Hi, thanks,
Howdy.
guys.
Thank
My
you.
name's Joe, and I've been very blessed. I have a career in responsible tourism for the last 20 years, and I've traveled to over 75 countries, many of those developing nations, and there's not a time that I've ever traveled where I haven't come back where my most memorable moment is the joy and the happiness I've seen in all those places that have way less than any minimalist could ever possibly dream of having.
Sure.
They have less. But there's joy, family, and happiness.
Yes.
My question is, we're talking about minimalism, and I'm a minimalist in many, many fashions. Working in tourism, I'm a minimalist and pay an income as well as other things. But I'm grappling with the fact, like I could be a minimalist, but then there's this bigger thing out there that's making me unhappy, which is meaning the United States, our system of consumption, consumerism. So I'm just asking you to maybe talk about the difference between those two, because I see one of them as kind of like this cancerous thing, and it's kind of bumming me out, even though I'm trying to live my life as a happy minimalist, but there's this other.
Yeah, it's interesting. To your first point, yeah, this is the richest country in the world, and it's also the most depressed country in the world. And that does definitely say a lot. When it comes to living this type of lifestyle, it's really about focusing on yourself, because you're doing it for yourself, right? You're not doing it for anybody else. You're doing it for yourself. And I think it is easy to get caught up in, the guy who's, driving the big SUV and, whatever. You see people out there and I'm not even saying owning a big SUV is bad. But I understand what you're saying is you look around and you see things that deter you and that do get you upset. To that I would say ignore it. That's what I do, because I get annoyed too. But I have to tell myself, because you'll never see me on the corner with a picket sign. You'll never see me, chaining myself to, in front of the Walmart doors or something, no one will enter and buy all this plastic stuff. Because it's not about, for Josh and I, it's not about us pressing our beliefs on other people and, you will convert to minimalism and here's why you need to convert to minimalism. For us, it was about, holy moly, this minimalism thing actually has substance, and it's adding value to our lives, and it's making us see things differently, and we just kind of share our experiences, and it caught on, and it's still catching on. I mean, it's growing every single month. So I don't think that what you or I or anybody in this room are doing in vain. I think it's great, but we've got to be able to do it for ourselves instead of pushing it on other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I add to that?
No.
I know I'm not supposed to.
Okay. Go for it. I think we're way over.
Yeah. It's interesting, the consumption thing, because I'm not against consumption. I'm against irresponsible consumption, and that's just because that's what I was doing for the longest time. I was irresponsible with my life. My 20s were very solipsistic, and I was focused on me, and so I was focused on the wrong bits of me. And so when Ryan says you're doing this for yourself, yeah, you're doing it for yourself so you can live a better life, so you can do something meaningful with that life, and that's what's important to me. And I've noticed that enough people are seeing the benefits from that. Ryan was the first person who saw the benefits in me from the life. I never went out and showed people the actions of what I was doing. I showed them inadvertently at first the benefits of what I was doing. And we started this tour like a year ago, and our second or third city was Knoxville, and 2 people showed up, and
it was a really good meetup.
It was actually
no pressure, no boom mics with 200 people in the room.
It would have been better if we had boom mics. So.
That'd have been great, man.
And 2 people showed up, and it was so great that just someone was willing to show up still, and And the fact that you all are here tonight is amazing, because and you know, we're seeing similar crowds in other cities now too. And what it's saying is this is spreading because the benefits are spreading. And it's not about going and telling people you're supposed to do this, or you're supposed to live your life this way. It's, hey, here's some of the benefits I'm experiencing, and here's how I got there. And I think when you show those benefits first, people start to realize that, hey, maybe there is a different way I can live. Really good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Best for last.
You're sneaking in, aren't you?
Oh, wait. Second best for last.
Well, the last guy was talking about environmentalism and how it goes into minimalism, so that kind of really sparked something within me. But if we don't have time, it's definitely not.
Everyone, do we have time?
You were first, so go ahead.
Just go. Just go. Go.
Okay. Well, I got into minimalism because I majored in environmental studies, and we always study the side of kind of what we can do to what we can do to reduce our consumption and green energy and ways to save water. But that was kind of one side of the equation. The other side was, what can we do personally to reduce our consumption? And I don't know, when I was studying it, we didn't really focus too much on that, and that's why minimalism really attracted to me. I felt so paralyzed that our policies weren't going into ways to, you know, save on the forests and biodiversity and etc. And so that's why I did it personally. It made me feel empowered that I was contributing to something that I felt was really important. So I kind of wanted to reach out to the guy who was talking about ecotourism. That really attracted me. But my question was more, the materialist part of minimalism isn't so much a problem for me now, just because of my strong beliefs in environmentalism. The part I'm kind of struggling with now is thinking about mental minimalism and try to reduce what the clutter in my mind from blogs, from smartphones now too, you know, and so it's just kind of mental minimalism. Like, that's the next step I'd like to go into, and I don't know if you've experienced that or have been experimenting with that or thought about that at all.
Yeah, I actually wrote an essay called Decluttering Your Mental Clutter. It's theminimalist.com /mental. But yeah, it's all explained there. I'm just kidding. No, you know, I talk about how, you know, it's definitely a problem, and you know, for some people they need to get the right tools to get rid of their mental clutter. So whether that's going and, you know, building a community, or whether that's going and seeing, you know, a therapist, or whether it's buying a book, or you know, a self-help book or something to kind of give you a different perspective. I mean, there are a lot of different things you can do to tackle that, but yeah, it's definitely a problem. Kind of rushing now.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No. I think you can always like take a month to start with a blank slate and see what really does add value. Yeah, the cream tends to rise to the top, and the things that you really want to focus on, you can focus on if you blank slate everything. I did that with blogs and, you know, Twitter and all these other things, and things that added value. I remembered other things sort of went by the wayside.
I wasn't suggesting that you go see a therapist, by the way.
Thanks so much.
No, thank you.
All right, last question, I think. All right.
I'm DJ. I'm a grad student at the UW, and so on a grad student salary, I'm forced to be pretty close to minimalist.
Yes. No, they hand out credit cards now, man. They're free money.
I'm not a big fan of those.
Amen.
So my question actually is sort of related to the previous one. I've been practicing mindfulness meditation for the last few months, and the practice is a lot about like observing your mind and your thought patterns, and sort of questioning the way you think about different things in your life, and definitely material possessions is one of them.
Sure.
I was just wondering, and since you sort of brought it up, that, you know, for you a lot of the benefits of minimalism come from like examining your own life and, you know, asking serious questions to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that the mindfulness meditation actually forces you to do a lot of the similar things. My question was sort of about whether like focusing on material possessions is that sort of a formula to get to know yourself better in some way?
It's a great question. I would say people quite often think that like, the minimalism is the end game, right? Like, I'm going to get rid of all my stuff and I'm going to be happy because of it. And that doesn't work that way. I think you can get rid of all your stuff and then go home to like an empty apartment and sulk. Because you just got rid of all your pacifiers, right? And so for me, minimalism was sort of the initial bite at the apple that changed everything. And it was getting the stuff out of the way so I could figure out, first off, what's important in my life, and second, how do I prioritize that? How do I fix it? How do I make that better? How do I improve that? How do I grow? And once I got rid of the stuff that was in the way, the stuff that was occupying the vast majority of my time, it just cleared the way for that, for me to ultimately be more mindful. You know, we call it intentionality, but it's just living more intentionally. And for me, because I was so sort of consumer-driven, I mean, we're in such a heavily mediated society now. We're bombarded with messages all the time. I had to reprioritize, restructure my life by getting rid of the stuff that was in the way.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. So I want to say thank you to Town Hall for letting us have the space. It's been really great. Can we give them a round of applause? Yeah. And we'll be over here, you know, giving out hugs, and would love to say hi. Thank you so much for coming. You're wonderful.